Welcome to Nonprofit Live, Mike. It's great to have you on the show today.
Amy, thank you for having me. I'm honored.
It's a really exciting conversation. I've been looking forward to connecting with you and connecting with you in front of and with the community of nonprofit leaders. I know you have such a great story to share, and we're going to dig into that. Welcome to Nonprofit Live. For those of you who are dialing in on the replay, give us a hashtag replay so we know you caught the show. And if you're here live, say hello. Remember, above it will instruct you. We are streaming on StreamYard. So for your comments to be seen, you have to hit the button above. And if you're on LinkedIn, it's streamyard.com/LinkedIn. And on Facebook, it's streamyard.com/Facebook. So we can see who is talking to us. A little bit of housekeeping, you know how that is. Well, Nonprofit Live, we bring on nonprofit experts, we bring on nonprofit leaders occasionally to talk about cutting edge information in the sector. And one thing, Mike, I know that we've been really busy talking about in the community, in the nonprofit collab, my community of Inner Circle community of nonprofit leaders, we've been talking about our annual fundraising plan. And such an important part of that is our events, right? We got to lock those in and really secure those. And Mike, every time we talk about events, we talk about sponsorships. And here's what I find. Sometimes that's the only time we talk about our corporate partners is when we have an event and we want their sponsorship. So I just thought this was a great time to invite you onto the show, congratulate you on a hell of a tenure leading the United Way of Beaver County. I want to hear more about your plans and what you got cooking there, and ask you some really juicy questions about how do you bring these people together? How do you do it so well? So
Well, I'm
welcome.
looking forward to giving you what little bit of knowledge I have. I always tell the folks that I'm the least knowledgeable in my office here. I have a staff of five ladies that support what I do, and they are amazing. And so I'm very blessed that you want to listen to my opinion and my thoughts. And I think they do bring some will bring some help to your folks. A lot of them are common sense. However, in today's world, a lot of folks are lacking common sense. So I think it's a good thing to be reminded of. It's the little things that may not seem a lot when you think about them or you talk about them, but if you can keep them as your foundation as you move forward, that they will sprout and bring you great rewards at the end.
That consistency, it sounds like, is well, Mike. I can't wait to dig in. I want you to introduce yourself to the crowd. We live in the same community, so I'm super excited to be able to be a part of your network, your nonprofit community that you lead here through the local United Way of Beaver County. We're here in Western Pennsylvania. Can you introduce yourself to the group and a little bit about your journey and how you found yourself at the United?
Sure. My name's Mike Rubino. I've been the executive director of the United Way of Beaver County for a little over 7 years now. And this tenure is winding down as I am going to be retiring here in a few months and passing the baton to somebody probably a little more knowledgeable and a little younger to move this organization forward. My journey is kind of varied. It's all been in Beaver County, which pretty much I'm pretty proud of. Started my career right out of college with a couple partners, and kind of a cool story is was part of what was considered one of the first computer specialty stores east of the Mississippi in 1981. So if you think about that, that is prior the internet, that is prior personal computers. It was at the time when the only computers on the market were sort of like the home computers, Commodores and Ataris and Apple IIs.
When there was like the room of the computer, when like a university had an entire
Correct.
one room dedicated to their computers.
And I'll never forget that the first year, total sales for the first year was $56,000 only for the whole year.
Wow.
And but by the time we grew the company and I left my partnership in 1998, 18 years later, we had 15 employees and we're $2 million a year. So it was a great journey. So that was my business background. That's where I got the use of my degree, which is speech communication and administration, to learn how to sell, to learn how to work with the public, but at the same time create some business acumen to keep the corporation running. And very proud over those 18 years that we did that very well. Then I shifted to really, I guess, the nonprofit world and spent 8 years at the regional public television station, which is WQED Pittsburgh. One of the cool stories I have there is being in the elevator one time with Mr. Rogers, just him and I, and got to talk a little bit to him. I was wearing a pin on my lapel that represents pro-life, baby's feet, and got to Mr. Rogers asked me about my pin, and I got to tell him a little bit about that. And that was a great interaction that I have with the world famous and all still
Fred
met Mr.
Rogers.
Rogers. So that was cool.
What a great story.
Yeah, spent 8 years at WQED being their head person for getting underwriting and marketing for companies that wanted to spread their word through public television. And Pittsburgh Magazine also was one of the integral people that started Beaver County Magazine for the businesses in Beaver County through Pittsburgh Magazine and WQED. And that's where I got really involved in the business community in Beaver County too, and got to make a lot of connections here, even though I've lived here all my life, 60 some years. And then I was really inspired to leave WQED and take about a 65% pay cut. The Lord led me to my alma mater, local Catholic high school, who needed help to be sustained. And I was very blessed there to get to use all my skills again to be their alumni director, be their development director, be the head of purchasing, be the head of maintenance, and all that stuff in a small Catholic school. And took their fundraising from 50,000 a year to $500,000 a year. So that was a good thing.
Yeah.
And then as Quigley Catholic was starting to wind down due to a lack of children coming through the system that wanted to go to a Catholic high school, even though they were still there, we had put them on a pretty good foundation. But I saw the writing on the wall that the Diocese of Pittsburgh was not going to be supporting that school much longer. And I was solicited to throw my hat in the ring for the United Way of Beaver County. And I said no 2 or 3 times. And then at the last minute, I said, well, maybe this is what the Lord wants me to do. And
well, it certainly seems like the journey prepared you. I mean, between your entrepreneurial spirit, clearly, and your private sector background and your public sector, but in marketing and partnerships with the private sector, and then on to ultimately the United Way. That's a pretty prepared background, I would say.
yes, and it did. So I've been using every arrow in my quiver over the last 7 years, and have been able to take the United Way of Beaver County, which started back in 1959.
Is that
And
right?
so it's over 62 years old. They had just come off in 2014 their lowest annual campaign, which was about $650,000. And the board needed, they said they needed some refreshment. They needed people somebody that can make the Beaver County folks be aware that we're still here and that we're still alive, and to bring some life into it. In the past, the United Way, as you know, Pittsburgh was always in this area, was known for the steel mills. United Way across the nation, there are 1,200 United Ways, individual United Ways across the nation. There are 1,800 around the world, but each of us is a separate entity with our separate board of directors and our separate governance. And they had just come off the Beaver County campaign, which was their lowest, was $650,000 in their history. As some of your people may or may not know, that over the last 20 years, our area lost 25% of our population and over 32,000 steel working jobs. And so United Way is really famous for creating the payroll deduction version of support, where companies and their employees are asked to make a pay contribution from their paycheck each and every pay. And again, when you had so many workers and so many companies involved, it wasn't hard to get 800, 900, $1 million a year back in the 70s and the 80s.
Sure, but
Um,
as companies pulled back, and for those that don't know, this area had after the 1970s and the steel mill bust into the early 80s, a long period of economic decline. Um, yeah, it is. What's unique about the United Way is that employer-led partnership, right? That the nonprofits can get into corporate donors, and it really becomes but it's accessing individuals within those networks, right? It's the individual employees, so it's an employer-led giving program.
Correct. But you, as the director of the United Way, have to engage with the leaders in the company. And you have to make sure that they have the desire to continue to run those campaigns among their employees.
It's a
And
big cheerleading effort. I mean, it's not a small effort. And so
it,
you really need
it's
good partners, not just folks that are
and you
lighthearted about their
and
commitment.
you find all degrees of excitement within companies to run United Way, as again with companies being stressed with the lack of employees these days.
Well, I want to get into this because I think this is really where it's gonna get kind of juicy. And I want to say hi to some folks listening. Hey, Claudia and Lisa, good to see you, and Elena and Allie. I like it. We got all the vowels out. Hey, Simon, let us know if you all have questions. And let us know in the comments if do you work with your United Way? Do you work locally with your United Way? We'd love to hear um, kind of where you're coming from as we're having the conversation, and share your questions with us as well. Um, yeah, so let's talk about this because I spend a lot of time working with my clients on how to position yourself for that particular funder, that funder type, right? In companies and corporations, I like to explain there are four reasons people give, right? And our job is to figure out where this particular donor is on that continuum, and really make the match. And corporate donors have their own reason for giving. Sometimes I think the biggest mistake we make in fundraising is we forget that people aren't giving for the reasons we care about. They're giving for the reasons they care about.
Correct.
It's not about us, right? It's a tough one.
Yeah.
That ego, that human ego we have. What are some of the conversations when you say there are different levels of support and enthusiasm? What are you hearing out there? Why are companies choosing to get involved? How do you make it appealing for them?
Well, I think the ideal company likes the idea that if you use the United Way program properly and the campaign properly, it can actually bring their employees together and give them a rallying support for each other. It can be a fun time so that, we have companies that will use it to, first of all, create a committee among their employees that brings in different parts of the company. I stress to them, and again, some do and some don't, that they should have somebody from management, they should have somebody from hourly, they should definitely have the union representation if there's a union in their company. They should have different age groups of people on their committee, and try to make it as fun as possible. I mean, some companies will kick off their United Way campaign with a luncheon and cornhole tournaments and things of that nature, little raffles, chili cook-offs that really get the people together and have fun among themselves. But at the same time, it's an opportunity to talk about the United Way and the payroll deduction campaign. So it
More
creates a cohesion among employees
I
that they
can't
don't
say
really have an opportunity to do that a lot of times. But at the
give
same
this man
time,
a mic. I mean, what you just said is so simple and so brilliant. Make it fun. Folks,
correct.
it's fundraising, not surgery. This is about people getting together to do amazing things in this world. And I love that you really intentionally lead with fun, and you're giving them really specific engagement tips, right? With this
It,
forming a committee.
exactly. And at times you have management and unions sometimes are at opposition, especially at times when there's contract negotiations. And you can bring in the United Way as a point of interest that nobody should have an opposition for, because we're here to help people. We're here to help people of all ages, of all races, creeds, persuasions, colors. And it should be something that both sides can agree on to help. And
Yeah.
it actually can bring people to the table to have a common goal that then maybe can open the door for them to get along on other topics too.
Yeah.
So I think that's an important thing to remember. So
I'm wondering
we
if any nonprofits listening have ever thought about adding that to their pitch as they approach businesses, right? Right? This team building piece. I love that it's in the United Way's DNA to be equally plugged in.
Yes, and we one of the things we stress, and some folks don't really all know this, that the United Way is there to raise money for everybody. So this year there are 72 charities in Beaver County that are receiving funds because we go out and full-time fundraise at these companies. And the employees are told, and I say it in every talk that I give, which pre-COVID is about 70 times a year, that they can make their payroll deduction to any 501c3 that they would like. And I think that's important for your listeners to know that your charity, if it's a 501c3, needs to be in touch with your local United Way so that you are on the radar and know when they are doing their campaigns in your area. Typically, they are between September and November. And then you, as these other charities, all your charities, need to engage with their supporters and let them know that if they work for a company that runs a United Way campaign, that they will have the opportunity
Just,
to designate their weekly contribution or pay contribution to your charity.
yeah,
So I think that's so important.
I think that is so important because I think that is confusing. And I'm going to try to sum it up, and you can let me know if I understand it because um, it certainly has been this way in the past where you have the United Way, you're connected to your local United Way chapter. Everybody's able to register to have a United Way number so they can receive donations that individual employees designate for them.
Correct.
And then they can also be part of the United Way network of the 72 that are receiving some form of funding from the United Way.
Correct. And that
Is,
number fluctuates each year based upon the different charities that get designations. Now, there are a lot of United Ways, especially bigger ones, and we're a very small one. I'd like to say hi. I'm 50% of the full-time staff, to all your listeners. So I only have one other full-time employee and two part-time administrative assistants. Um, but some United Ways are what they call impact models. So the only people that will get money from those United Ways is if your charity is matching up your mission with what their impact model is at that time.
Mhm.
And those can change with United Ways. Every 3 to 5 years, they can say, okay, for these next 3 years, we're going to deal with child hunger. So if you're a charity that deals with program in child hunger, you can ask for money from your local United Way.
Mhm.
Our United Way is slightly different because we're small and we're traditional. And what that means is years ago, we highlighted 17 specific programs in Beaver County that range from pre-birth to natural death. And we help everybody on that scheme of things. So if as we raise money that is not designated, meaning they give it to the United Way of Beaver County and say, I don't want to give it to anybody else. I want you to share that across the spectrum of these 17 charities that would help young ladies, that are expecting mothers to make sure that they're healthy and can bring their baby and have everything they need into the world, all the way to Meals on Wheels when you're home and we want to keep you in your house and we can send you meals and we can send you homemaker home health to take care of your house, and then everything in between with the Boy Scouts, the Girl Scouts, the Salvation Army, the YMCA, the Blind Association, the Women's Center, that whole spectrum. So
Yeah.
people that donate money just to the United Way, we as an old-fashioned or traditional United Way have a pool of volunteers that help us evaluate these 17 charities, their programming within that, and then they decide how the money's broken up. So
How it,
this year, those 17 programs are sharing over $500,000. And then there's another $200,000 or so that is being given out to the designated charities that the employees wrote in
that the
their pledge form.
employees specified. Oh, thank you for explaining that. I think does everybody does that make sense to everybody? Because I don't know. I think you're right. Like people don't understand the nonprofit has a responsibility to educate their supporters and
Correct.
how to make use of.
So you would need your listeners need to find out, is your United Way an impact model or is it a traditional model? Now, either way, they can get designations.
Yes,
Either
right.
way. But if it's an impact model and they
Apply.
serve that impact in their mission, they can get additional and ask for, sort of would be like writing a grant to get a grant from their United Way.
Yes. Well, Denise Martin is saying what an amazing job you're doing here in Beaver County. So we know you've got a good fan base out there. Hey, Denise. Okay, so talk to me about this. So that's helpful, the impact model versus the traditional model. The fact is, guys, what I'm hearing Mike say is connecting with your United Way to be in the network is so strategically important, regardless of what the initial relationship is, because people trust the United Way to move money. So you're getting money. The company is saying, we trust the United Way. We're going to collect money. Some of it's just going to go for the United Way to make decisions, and then some of it will be designated. There are other people that trust the United Way to distribute money
That's right.
in significant ways. Can you talk to us a little bit about some of those opportunities?
Yeah, well, I think, when we talk about relationship building, this job is nothing but relationship building. And you have to make sure that the companies that you're dealing with have, like you said, the confidence in you. One of the things I always am very proud of is that our overhead is very low, and we are very, very good stewards of the money. We have professional audits every year that's posted at the charity grant locations on the website. And we're very proud to say that when you're a nonprofit, and your listeners probably know this, you want to make sure your admin, your overhead is staying no more than 20 to 25%. That's where that percentage needs to be. We are at 14.3%. So that means that 85.5 cents of every dollar that comes in goes back out. And so we're very good stewards of the money. So companies like that. They also like the idea that we are connected with all the charities in Beaver County, not just our 17 partner agencies, but we help everybody. So we're really campaigning out there for everybody. By having campaigns, and if your charities do their share to tell their supporters, hey, this is the time you got to be aware of, we're out there raising money for everybody. They like the idea. You always want to make it as easy as possible for your companies to donate. Okay, as easy as possible. If it be online giving, if it be whatever. We have companies that don't have the time to vet all the little charities that they're getting asked for to give them money. We have companies that have big companies like Shell, who have a convoluted website to ask for money, and what you got to go through to get a check written to you by their corporate. So what happens is, Shell then will come to us, and has come to us, and other companies like Shell, and say, we want to donate X amount of dollars into Beaver County for the year. We don't really know who we want to give it to yet. We don't know who's going to ask for it yet, but we just know we want to make it as easy as possible.
And I imagine they also don't know how to create a solid system to even start to figure that out, right? Which is what you do all the time.
Exactly. And to say, somebody may say, well, we need $500 for a sponsorship, and you're talking a multi-billion-dollar company.
Right.
So it's nice when they will say, we have one company that says we designate $15,000 to Beaver County. They write United Way a check in January for $15,000. They're done. Their tax record, their taxable credit is right there. They get a letter from us. Thank you for donating $15,000. And then what we do is, anytime they want to give something out in Beaver County, they just send me an email and say, hey, Mike, we want to give $500 to this charity in Beaver County, Big Brothers Big Sisters.
So
can you take care of that?
Decision making.
So then we send them the check.
That's interesting.
And we just deduct it and keep a spreadsheet for them. And every time they make a donation, we're sort of like their financial arm for charity.
I didn't realize that. Yeah.
And so it makes it simple.
I thought it was more of an undesignated gift, trusting United Way to distribute. So it works both ways.
It works both ways. We've been blessed where, Shell will have a gate collection among, their 5,000 employees that are building the plant. And they say, okay, Mike, we've collected, $24,000 for Thanksgiving, but we don't know who is serving Thanksgiving meals in Beaver County. but
Yeah.
we know you do or can find out. So then I give them a list of places that are giving Thanksgiving meals out that day. They look at the list and they say, we like this list, we don't like this one, or whatever reason. And then they say, here's the money, disperse it, let them know it's from Shell, and send us pictures. And then that's what happens. Shell gets the pictures of people eating, and they get the marketing. We
Service.
get to count it as money raised. And eight new charities got Thanksgiving food and
What I
meals.
love about that model is you keep the companies still engaged then. They don't get off with that, here's the money, go do something with it. They
Correct.
actually continue to learn with you. And
Yeah. So you got to, yes, exactly. So again, by building those relationships of caring both ways, you're helping them make their job easier to give money away.
yeah,
So you're an extra employee almost for them. And usually, what the United Way does, and all United Ways, is if we are that liaison, we get to keep a very small portion of it for admin costs. And you tell the company that, and it says, hey, if you're going to keep 5 or 7% to do all this legwork and to write all the checks and get the thank yous and all that other stuff for us and photos, it's worth it. So
yeah.
it's been very, very good. The other idea is you always want to make sure that you say thank you. And, it's again, one of those common sense things. You want to say thank you more times than you think is necessary. You want to say thank you that when you're running into a person or a company who donated to you, not just formally through a thank you letter. If you see them at a function, and it might be 3 months after you've already thanked them formally,
You bring it up.
you bring it up. And you
That's just
keep
good
that top of
manners,
yes, exactly.
right?
You just got to be great, and you got to be grateful for the $5 gift as
That's
well
right.
as the $50,000 gift. And I can't tell your people enough how much saying thank you on a regular basis and every opportunity goes. I mean, it just keeps that, the warm and fuzzy going. But you have to be sincere. And I think that's one of the things too, that again, one of those common sense things. And I've been told that it's not an easy thing to do, is to show and to come across genuine and sincere. And the easy way to do that is obviously be in love with your own mission. And
Mm.
it comes through. It comes through the way you talk, the way you carry yourself. And if you find that right leader for an organization that can come across genuine and be genuine, that also has walked the walk, that donates to the charity that he works for, at the same time, and never asking a potential giver to do what you wouldn't do for yourself,
Mm.
it just makes it so much easier and makes it be that much more successful. Um, so again, a lot of common sense stuff, and I think your people probably already do some of that, if not all of it. But I guess it's a good reminder.
Well, I appreciate the twist on it because I think sometimes we get tripped up with thank you notes, right? But you're right, it doesn't end with a thank you note. It's a spirit of gratitude.
Correct.
And thank yous come in to continuously acknowledging the gift, but also back to the first thing you said, which was make it fun, make it a community and a space people want to spend time in, whether they're corporate leaders or individual donors. They come for the cause, but their loyalty really develops when we deepen those relationships. And that can only happen with getting to know one another in a genuine way.
Yeah, and one of the things too I want to talk about, if you
Yeah.
don't mind, is how important your board of directors are. And your board of directors should be people that are there because they want to be there, not because somebody from their company says you're going to sit on this board.
Mm.
Um, a lot of us get confused and get taken down by, we need a board that's a working board, or we need a board that's going to, run events for us and those kinds of things. If you can find those kind of boards nowadays, that's a blessing. But I ask really just three things of our board. One is obviously I stay engaged with them all the time. You're going to find, and I know, even though you're not going to hear me say this out loud, although I'm going to. There's certain board members that you're attracted to, certain board members that you feel more comfortable with. Those are the board members you want to stay in touch with on a regular basis, just to get mentoring, just to get make sure that you feel that you're in the right direction. But the key is we asked our board members simply three things. And the United Way usually has some very powerful board members, meaning they are heads of their companies.
Impressive.
Okay, they are presidents of colleges. They are, they're just not somebody that's down the totem pole that's keeping a seat warm. I asked them that they need to have their United Way be one of their personal charities. Okay, that they feel that this is something they want to give their money to as well. Okay, and so we got 100% participation on that. I have a board of 22. Okay, and so we have 22 private donors, and they range anywhere from $500 a year to $10,000 a year each. Then I asked them to make sure that their company stays engaged with the United Way, and the people that I need to talk to in their company, that they give me access to those people, and grow the United Way relationship on any level, every level, any level. And lastly, I need their Rolodex. I need to know that if there's somebody there that I think I need to meet, or if there's somebody in their Rolodex that can better the United Way, that they introduce me to them. I don't ask them to ask for the gifts, because I know that can put them in a bad situation. But I ask them to make the initial contact, so that when I make a contact, that it's a warm call and not a cold call.
I love those three key pieces of advice for how to manage your board, because that's what it really is. Your job as an executive director is to help your board be successful. And I love that it doesn't default to the usual, how do you get your board to fundraise? Because guess what? They're not your fundraising department. That's not what they are. So I like that you asked for the introduction, and I think what ends up happening, Mike, I don't know if you see this with nonprofits, the frustration that executive directors have with boards, and there's lots of conversation we can have there, right? So much of it stems from, and this is the hard truth that I find out there, we're not clear with what we're asking of them, and they don't know what to do, and it just gets frustrating all around. The thing we can control in that equation is we can get clear with what we're asking of them.
Right.
And so your three talking points are really very, very clear and doable.
Correct.
Not
And
just
you don't get caught up. Yeah. And you don't want them to get caught up in the minutia or worrying about, I got to go get a gift card for this basket, or I got to go get some wine
gift
for this
cards,
basket.
that is not going to save the day. Like, do
It's
not
not.
busy people with requests that really aren't that meaningful. These are your top, this is your brain trust.
Correct.
And you need to organize them in a way that they're helpful to you and they don't get bored.
And you want to make sure too that your board is varied. You don't want, of course, diversity is always at the top of the list. Age is, good age diversity is very important. That's one thing I've been very happy about over the last 7 years, that we've been able to lower the average age of our board members
It's
here.
process good.
Because when you've been in United Way for 62 years, it's easy to get a board that's older. But you also want to make sure that you don't want to have all cheerleaders on your board. You want to have board members that will question. You want to have board members that will make you better, because they're going to challenge you as a leader. I think, my predecessor is a great guy, but after being here 23 years, and his board wasn't challenging him anymore. And that's why the donations went down.
Here's the thing, a docile board seems convenient in the short term, but you're going to run out of money to raise. In order to take it to the next level, you have to have leadership in place. And so it's now, or you wait and it gets harder to get a board that's really supportive and able to help. We could go on about that. I've got another good question for you. I'm looking to plug in my computer so we don't, I'm telling you what, my technology today. I want to ask you, because you and I had some discussion, and I want to just pick your brain on this. Companies are trusting the United Way to help process who to give to and how to distribute money. So is government in a lot of cases, right? And I know, working with my clients in certain communities, a lot of this funding from COVID, right, with the Recovery Act, a lot of governments have partnered with United Way to help with the process, just like you described with Shell. have you talked to your colleagues around the country? Have you seen people do it differently? How is that going? Because we're seeing in the news the money's just not getting to where it's supposed to be or moving.
Well, our United Way, we have not been given monies from the government to give back out.
Okay.
We were fortunate enough to get a PPP loan to keep going during the beginnings of COVID. We were very fortunate to get a little bit of money from the CARES Act from the Beaver County government.
Mhm.
And I was happy to see in this Sunday's paper, they're finally going to start taking applications in March for local nonprofits to get money from the American Rescue Plan that
I
Beaver
didn't
County
see that.
received. And so, but we get no funding from the government. We get no,
Important to know.
we get no grants from the government. We don't write for grants to the government. So we're 100% funded through donations. So I can't, but again, bigger United Ways that run programming out of their office. That goes back to that impact model. They probably do get some of that money to run programs out of their United Way. But
On
when
a
you only
regular
have
basis, you're saying.
when you only have two employees versus United Way of Pittsburgh, or what they call now Southwestern Pennsylvania, they have 75 employees and bring in $35 million a year, and so they have the vehicles in place to actually run programs out of their office. So the thing that sometimes people ask me is that some of these bigger United Ways are actually competing with their own charities to get the monies to do things. And
I mean,
sometimes it's a
we're
duplication.
talking a lot about the positives of United Way, but like any business, evolving and innovating is important, and it does beg the question,
It
right?
does. And I'm not saying one way is right and one way is wrong. The bottom line is we're all here to help as many people as we can help.
Yeah.
There's 162,000 people in Beaver County, and last year just the 17 charities that we gave money to touched somebody 132,000 times. So that's pretty good when you have, and that's not counting the money that was given through designations through the other 50 some charities that got money.
Right.
Just the 17 that got money through the United Way touched somebody 132,000 times.
Mike, what would you, I mean, that's pretty amazing. What would you say is one of the beacons you're most proud of in your tenure? I mean, that's got to be one of them, certainly, but is there something else that really stands out, that you would point
Well,
to as an accomplishment
I
you're seeing?
think overall, what if I've done anything or my team has done anything over the last 7 years is we have brought the United Way to a level in Beaver County that we are the first charity that people think of. If it be somebody who wants to donate money or somebody that wants to donate handmade blankets. I mean, over the last 2 or 3 years, we've had three ladies come to us and handmade over 100 beautiful quilted blankets, and they've asked us to help them distribute it. We've had companies that have asked us to distribute. This past month, we've given out 650 boxes of sanitizing products that a company had left over.
Mm.
We've given out over 200 picnic tables that somebody had to give out. We've given out 300 computer monitor screens that people had to give out. So you want to be that top of mind charity that either if I need help or if I want to help, if it be with my time, talent, or treasure, I'm thinking the United Way of Beaver County.
Yeah.
I think that's probably, not even looking at the dollars. I mean, we've averaged in the last 7 years, we've taken them from $650,000 a year before I came to over 900,000 a year. That's I guess a very easy way to say, yeah, I'm proud of that. But I'm really more proud of the intangible that
It's what that represents.
the rep.
I like to say, Mike, fundraising is simply a byproduct of good community building.
Correct. Correct.
And what you're describing is the community building piece in my mind, that you're able to connect people who care with the resources and the resources they have with the people who need them, who are on the ground making a difference.
Yeah, I think and I know we're coming to the end of our time here. I like to follow I don't know if it's talked about as much as it should be, the servant leadership model. I've been blessed over the last 5 years to be one of the guest speakers for our Beaver County Leadership Program that they have through our Chamber of Commerce. And I can't stress enough how important it is to be a servant leader to even the people you work with, to be that person that you're the boss, but you're the guy that also is going to get somebody coffee, and then instead of them getting you coffee. You're also the leader, servant leader that, um, yes, you got companies that are giving you $50,000, but you're also the person that's going to go to that company and participate in one of their charity days.
Mhm.
You're the servant leader that, um, you're going to go out personally, and somebody calls and says, can you help me find somebody to shovel my snow? And then sometimes you just pick up the shovel and go do it yourself
Mhm.
for that person. So that comes across if you're doing it with sincerity and you're not doing it for wanting to get any type of payback. It comes across, and that type of leadership, I think, is immeasurable.
Mm. Yeah, that's powerful. Certainly a legacy, Mike. I can tell other people are commenting and just grateful for the insight. Would love to hear who is working with their United Way locally on the ground. And to thank you. Thank you for your service and your leadership and where you've really helped nonprofits in this community move. You certainly have given people a chance to come together and give them space to do that. And that just makes us stronger. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you. I tell folks that I consider myself to be the Stan Lee of fundraising, because in the United Way, Stan Lee, as you know, was the person who created all the Marvel superheroes and the comic books, and he wrote the stories for the superheroes. And I love telling the story of the Salvation Army. So I love telling the story of the YMCA and how they feed kids. I love telling the story of Homemaker Home Health and how they keep people in their homes instead of being institutionalized. They're the superheroes. The people that work for these nonprofits in Beaver County, the people that work for the charities that are on your list, they're the real heroes that are being paid, way less than what they should be paid, that are using their time and talent and going through the stress to help other people. And then sometimes it's the leaders of the nonprofit to get the accolades, which I don't like to get. I like to make sure they get passed down to the people that deserve them, and it's the people that are doing the work day to day with the clients and making their life a better place. So I'll take the hat to wear of being Stanley and being the storytellers for the real true
Listen,
superhero.
I got to post it up on the comments because it's a classic, the Stanley of fundraising. I mean, that's going down in the quote book for sure. Thanks, Mike. Any parting words for nonprofits, either your community of nonprofits or all of us out there working? I know that honoring them as superheroes is certainly a great send off. I just anything
Just
else?
feel free to pass my email on to any of your people. I'm here to help anytime. I always, one of the other sayings, I don't know if I created it or somebody else created it, but life is too short not to help folks. And in a world that needs to start living with joy, that they put Jesus's tenets first, others second, and then yourself, the why, last. So to live with joy, that's what we're here to do, and it'll just make the world a better place.
Yeah, yeah. It takes some work. Changing the world can be hard, but fundraising doesn't have to be. That's what we like to say at Magnify Your Mission. Thanks so much for being here, Mike. It's been an honor working with you. I'm looking forward to celebrating with you over the next few months as you continue to position our United Way for great things. And yeah, please ask questions. Take Mike up on the offer. I will certainly have his contact information. And we'll come back to the comments. So even if you're catching the replay, add your question in. Happy to tag Mike and get you whatever answers. Super interesting. Everything from learning about the United Way and how it works to these steps that you really have thought through and shared with us on how to make us good partners for the private sector, for our private sector.
Well, Amy, thank you for this opportunity. I hope, if there's one little kernel of wisdom there that somebody can use, I'll be grateful for that. Thanks what you do to help the nonprofits become more stable and to grow their fundraising and the way they do their mission. So we're all in this together, and let's just keep loving our neighbors, and we're going to make this place a better place.
That's it. Thank you. Have a great afternoon. Thanks for joining, everyone. And Mike, we'll see you. We'll see you out there making a difference.
Sounds good, Amy. God bless. Stay
Take
well.
care.